So today, I really want to talk about the role of intuition. It's such a strong component of how I lean into the daily work and what I do on a daily basis. In a world where everyone's obsessed with spreadsheets and ROIs and conversions and just understanding data and analytics and AI, I've kind of leaned the other way. Not in disregard to the ability to use AI and data, but more so to continue to evolve intuition and my gut in order to have that X factor that it'll continue to play such a important role in having that X factor as all of these other algorithms and unique ways to derive data get better and better. In my belief, what we have going for us as humans, as individuals, and as our truest selves, are using our innate ability to understand brands and people and psychology through our gut and intuition. And a part of how intuition plays a huge role in my day-to-day life is really on just understanding brands and choosing and picking the ones that really feel like they are going to define the next set of disruptive brands and categories. My gut has been trained over the last decade, decade and a half, through quite candidly having tens of thousands of conversations with founders, venture capitalists, media and entertainment folks, celebrities, influencers, etc. Uniquely, I think I've put myself in a position to want to get to know all of these people with a true sense of curiosity. And what that's done over, again, 10,000 conversations in 10 years has really allowed me to understand patterns, understand the way people think about things and the exposure to different ideologies and thought processes. When you take this melting pot of conversations, I'm doing exactly what AI does, but I'm doing it for myself, right? I've taken 10 years of work and distilled it down into a feeling. And that feeling is truly important. And I use that almost as a first layer of defense when meeting a new founder or a brand, because that's what I trust to light up a spark, or alternatively, not feel energized after an initial conversation. And so I'll get into that in a second, but I think this core ability to trust your gut, which is such a cliche used on packaging labels, used in podcasts and all of that, but trust your gut is such an important mantra in my life, and it's such an important way that I actually use it as one of the core fundamentals and tenets of how I do business. So how do you start training your gut? Your gut is developed over experiences and exposure and recognizing patterns over a long period of time. But that can't be the only thing, because I also understand that some people don't have the luxury to go out and have 10,000 conversations every single day. Some people sit at a desk. Some people are constantly on the move. Some people are not in external facing roles where you may feel like, oh, well, that's great. I don't have the time to have 10,000 conversations. How do you trust your gut then? Well, I think you could start looking for signals. We talked about this in a lot of podcasts recently, but signals come from feelings of love and authenticity and magnetism. It's these moments in the day where you feel drawn to things. And when you feel drawn to something, that is a signal. And to stop and recognize that signal is really important. And again, may sound very simple, but an exercise that I've used in the past is just really leaning into your sensory experience of sound, sight, taste, smell. Those are things that naturally your brain, mind, body connection will be drawn to. So you go to a beautiful coffee shop in the morning and smell fresh baked croissants and goods. If you're drawn to that, well, there's something about that that you've been drawn to. You're trusting your gut that, hey, this place has fresh baked goods and they're really passionate about making sure that that is very known when you walk into the shop, instead of refrigerated croissants that are sitting away from the front section ready to be microwaved like you may find at a Starbucks, something that's more mass stream and mainstream. That signal of scent is one that can then be extrapolated, and that's just a very nuanced example, but think about that in all parts of your day. What was the sensory experience of feeling energized after a certain conversation or a certain subject that you had with your colleague or boss at your day job? How did that gravitate you closer to something, whether it was a subject or a physical good, or whether it was your friend giving you a phone call and saying, I just had this amazing experience with XYZ product, which in our world is literally a word of mouth referral. They're calling you and taking the time out of their day to tell you something and story tell you something around a product that added value in some way, shape, or form to their life. So having that core ability to even look for signals or even just having the awareness or practicing the awareness of having these signals be just so prominent in your life is a really special thing because what you are doing is then just training your intuition to believe that what you are seeing and experiencing and feeling is true. And then when it's true, you can digest it and create pattern recognition for the next time you see that. And the way that this manifests into at least my work and not just me personally, but our ability at platform to do this is we really feel brands. We we don't just look at trend data and say, "Hey, we want the next modern soda because it's a white space," or, "Hey, everything has more protein now, so let's find something with more protein," and then pitch that to retail. Our fundamental process looks like, how do we feel after we have that first conversation with the brand? How do we feel after we have that first visual exposure to a brand? Was it impactful? Did we walk away with a feeling of, "Holy shit, I've never seen that before," or was it that looks like the 4th iteration of something I've seen for the last 5, 10 years. And that feeling is the thing we lean on the most when we decide whether or not we wanna lean in with a founder and a brand. And let me make this clear too, because I also think this is really important. It's not just the brand we wanna get a feeling for, it's the founder. We work with a ton of founder-led businesses. Probably a majority of our brands that we have the privilege to work with are founder-led, and in many of those meetings, we get to really digest their story, their passion, their love for what they do. And it is night and day when you meet a founder that is doing it for all of the right reasons and what feeling they leave you with inspiration. You know, a lot of the conversations I have on this podcast are with founders that leave me feeling inspired, which was the genesis of Magnetic. And so when you get that, you know you're leaning into something that's going to be fueled with the right ingredients to really drive longevity, sustainability, and a successful brand. The opposite being, yeah, they said all the right things. They're looking at a category that's hot. They have the right packaging, but that feeling, that feeling of a sensory experience that you left with doesn't exist. And I think that is a big signal to us and to me personally that they're not as invested. And if they are invested, maybe they're invested for monetary reasons versus just pure play love and passion for what they're building. As we think about intuition and what that means when discovering new brands and understanding how to be the team that people go to say, "Oh, what's new and what's hot on the market?" There are some other X factors that we look at. The main one is obviously intuition, and our intuition allows us to feel whether or not a brand is going to be the right play for us. But a derivative of intuition also contains a few other signals that I think are really important. One is just their creative connection. And what I mean by creative connection is it is not a templatized approach to whatever brand they're building. There is a very essence to the brand that is connected to creativity, to culture, to their community, to their end customer, that it seems caring and hospitable to their consumer. They aren't forcing something on their consumer. There's a creative connection to their consumer. So that's one. A second is the investment from a founder. And what I mean by that is it is usually pretty apparent on the first 2 calls how much time, money, and energy is being spent on building this brand. If the founder or the management team is split amongst 5, 6 different directions, that is not the recipe for a really successful brand that we wanna lean in on. We wanna lean in on committed and consistent teams versus teams that have really great ideas but may be working on 5 or 6. So the founder fit and being able to diligence their investment across energy, time, and money is really fundamental to us making a bet on the brand, whether it's just for our business, whether it's an investment, et cetera. So the founder fit and diligence around their investment and how it's extrapolated between these three categories is really important. Another unique quality that a brand embodies before they hit the charts, before they hit the trade shows, before you see them popular at Erewhon is cultural relevance. You can feel it, and I hate to keep using the word feel, but it is such a powerful component of how we really think about brands. And when you feel a brand being built into a community and really solving for a need and a problem, it becomes a really, really powerful movement for the brand as it enters a new community. A good example of this would be a hydration packet being built for just a specific need for runners. Understanding the community that they're going for, understanding the problem set that they're going into for their consumer is really powerful as they think about how does my product fit the need of this exact community and how can this community then speak to it later. So having the right community fit is also super important. You can feel the relevance, you can feel when it's real and when it's not just yeah, this community needs more hydration and it's super surface level. This actually means that they have done the work to understand their core consumer. They have taken the time to talk to runners. They've taken the time to interview runners. They've taken the time to sit with them and discuss their needs and things that they may be getting too much of or not enough of. When you've taken the time to do all that, it is embodied in the brand really well, and then it can speak to that customer, it could speak to that community in a really authentic way where they'll be nodding their heads in agreement when they see the brand instead of questioning it. A final point that I think is really critical in us vetting brands is using our own taste. It seems cliche as well, but if I'm not going to use it and I'm not going to represent it and I won't wear it on my hat, then why would we bet on it? It seems disconnected to take on a brand, whether it's a monetary investment, whether it's a client, whether it's something you want to promote or support, when you don't really, really authentically want to use it, take it, rep it. That is just a disconnect between the investor and the advisor and the brand. And I think that has to be bridged really carefully. And if you don't truly love the product, I don't think you can speak to it as well as someone who does. And when you do love the product, you are its best ambassador. You are the reason it's going to be taken to the next level. You are the reason that other people are going to be talking about it. And you can really, really feel when people love the product they represent, whether that's someone on the actual brand's team or whether that's someone in the service business helping a brand. I always kind of use this joke when we speak to founders for the first time where I say, I'm sure a ton of people have told you they love your brand. Have you gone into your CRM and actually checked if they've ever bought it? And it is something that I love pushing on to founders because they probably get so many people coming, I love your business. Like, I love your brand. It's so good. Like, I've seen it everywhere. It's so good. And just point blank, don't be afraid to ask them, like, have you ever tried it? And 9 out of 10 times in transactional conversations, 9 out of 10 times, you'll find that they'll quickly stumble and say, "Oh yeah, no, my colleague told me it was really good," or "Oh no, I've seen it everywhere. Like I'm assuming it's really good." The difference there is who cares wins. So if you have someone that's actually gone and bought your product, tried it, has brought it to the call or to the meeting, those are the additional steps that I think it takes to really embody and fully love a brand, and you're only doing that if you truly love it. If you don't, then you're just manipulating the conversation, but, I would encourage teams and founders to always, whenever talking to investors, stakeholders, service providers that want your business, that want to take on your brand in some sort of way or form, ask them if they love it, and then ask them again, right? And because that's going to tear down the facade of if they actually love it or not, and it'll probably identify whether or not they've ever even tried your product. As a founder, of a consumer products good brand or a service provider, or just an advisory agency and conglomerate like platform, I've always found that founder-led businesses that are really thorough with their vision and all of their qualities up front, and they're very transparent with, "Hey, we want the company to go here, and this is what it looks like, and these are the things that I believe in, and this is the way it should feel," like we were talking about earlier. How does the brand feel? And what should it smell like and taste like and feel like, and how are our employees going home and feeling? All of those things, when put together and are represented really clearly and openly and authentically and not tucked away just to be found later, I think that allows you to recruit in the clearest way, and not even recruit, but attract talent in the clearest way. Because recruiting is really going after people and kind of, using the same generator analogy, promoting yourself to other people so that they will believe in some sort of a mission, so they sign up to work for you. The opposite, again, on theme with magnetic, is really attracting the best talent. As people think about this concept of it takes a village to build a great brand, you're not going alone to the finish line as a founder. You're going to need a great team. And most people who do get to the finish line commend their great team on being the reason why they got there. I'll use Noah as an example, who's the founder of Platform. He has an undeniable ability to be himself in any conversation, whether it's with a client, an employee, an investor, a stakeholder of platforms, or his friends, right? So you have all of these different communities in which you exist in, and he does not shapeshift. What that allows is a very clear definition of how he expects people to show up at platform and the values that he embodies, which, we're grateful to clearly understand as someone who is supporting platform's vision. I have allowed myself to lean into those qualities because they are so real. They're not these fake qualities that we're like, "Oh, yeah, let's create a five-word mission statement so we can all have something to look at and believe in." They are real qualities of a founder-led business that we get to embody and take on and then deliver to the experience of our clients and guests and stakeholders. That clarity in the vision, that simplicity in the vision, because that's another thing, not to overcomplicate it, because then it's really hard to buy into a multitude of different beliefs, but the clarity of undeniable experience, client first, who cares wins, concierge, right? All these words that relate to this is obviously for a platform in our business, but these clear messages, hustle, and whatever that means to us, because that's broadly defined too. But all these clear messages over a business that's been around for 2 decades have still allowed it to prosper today, because whether it was someone who was hired 20 years ago, 5 years ago, or just last night, we have a clear understanding of what it takes to be successful at platform and what it takes for platform to be successful with our industry and with our client set. What that's led us to have is a really great ability to understand if someone's going to be a good fit on our team. Not only does it make it easier for us to vet, but it makes a potential candidate and someone who's really interested in working for all these value sets, it makes it so much easier for them to be like, that's what I want to do. When I graduated NYU, I was looking into a very saturated market of financial firms. This was back in, 2013, 14, and everyone wanted to go onto Wall Street. Really crowded space, really crowded space. All the bankers talk the same, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Barclays, all these companies kind of looked and felt the same type of buildings, same type of desks, same type of suits that everyone was wearing. The variable really was, maybe how much you were getting paid by 5,000 bucks or $20,000, whatever the delta was at the time. And so you were kind of just herding cattle into these different organizations, and then they were being trained to, go up and be bankers. And so there wasn't a lot of clarity in uniqueness in vision and mission. The brand, which it is a brand that stood out to me, was BlackRock at the time. I haven't kept up to their equity today, so I don't know where they sit on the stratosphere of great brands and not great brands, but at the time they were an incredible brand. and I'm pretty sure they still are. And so BlackRock did a really unique thing where no one was really talking about tech at the time. And in 2013 and 14, technology was super important. And every single banner that had been promoted about working for BlackRock had this Venn diagram that showed Wall Street and Silicon Valley. And then the Venn diagram came together, and in the overlap was the word BlackRock. That to me was, as someone who puts herself back into the shoes of a college graduate looking for to be drawn to a brand or a business to really be excited to work for them and believe in their mission, that was such a clear and simple way to be like, wow, they're thinking differently. They just said that Wall Street was over here and Silicon Valley's over here, but BlackRock sits in the middle. And so they've literally visually brought an entire other industry into the fold for themselves. And that was a really unique lens that they used to recruit. And I think it worked phenomenally. And the beauty was they weren't lying about that. They weren't doing it as a marketing tactic. They had hired tens, if not thousands, of employees focused on technology. And at the time, they were building a really amazing platform called Aladdin, which I think still exists today. But it was this tech platform that allowed people to understand, the financial analytics way better. And that to me was like, wow, that is what it takes to stand out in a herd of people thinking the same way. Pulled back, like, all it was them just being very clear about their mission and their value, and BlackRock was a founder-led business, and it still is, by Larry Fink, and so, I think the advantage you have as a founder-led business is that you are the energy of the company, and people are attracted to you. You have that gravitational pull for yourself, and if you can give people a reason or a couple things to believe in that are a good summary of exactly what they will experience and what they will embody working for XYZ brand, you're going to make it easier for both sides for addressing the right sort of recruitment tools and understanding how to vet potential candidates, and you'll make it way easier for the right candidates to find you. As you think through auditing your brand and your business to see if you're really communicating those traits that have been embodied by the founder. So again, you come up with a vision statement or a mission statement, but you recognize that internally and you might recognize that about yourself and your core team, but you haven't yet fully communicated that to the general audience or constituents that you wanted to reach. So think potential recruits, potential stakeholders, even investors that may want to learn or know this about your brand. I've always, I think, overlooked or undervalued this distinction between marketing and brand. In a service business, which may relate to brands as well, because it's the world I come from, marketing is very ROI driven. Um, it usually has its goals. It's usually budgeted against driving revenue or driving a certain outcome that is very fixated on a short term period. Creating a brand megaphone and creating a brand blanket is so important because even though it may not have the same ROI short term, the investment in communicating these traits on a megaphone and amplifying it enough for other people to hear and see allow other people to understand your business and be attracted to it. Even vulnerably for us, it's something that we're working on right now, which is we know our mission, we know our vision, we know how we treat our clients, we know the experience they get, we know the performance that we put through the system every single day, and we know how important it is from the intern all the way to the founder to show up as your best self. And these character traits are so ingrained in every single person that works for platform. We speak about it, we talk about it, we joke about it, we drink over it, we eat over it, but we haven't really taken the time to amplify it to a layer outside of the people we know and that interact with us every day. And that initiative to many is sometimes scary because it's a big investment to make. It's a big investment to just think like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna pay another 200 grand to be a little louder." And to turn up the dial a bit on communicating our mission to a world that may see it, that we may not be able to tangibly say that they came in right after seeing that and driving more business to us. But what we're seeing now is that the importance is not just for short term revenue. It's really for longevity and sustainability and this word that I was using earlier, which is the feeling that people get when they think about platform. We know that people have an amazing feeling after they engage with us or after we sit down and have a conversation with them. Are they getting that feeling before ever talking to us? That's where we start thinking maybe we're not doing the work to go and make that apparent. And the beauty is, I think there's so many tools to use now to take the feeling of having a conversation with me or Noah or anyone on our team, we're all amazing, and then putting that on a platform where other people can clearly see the value set and the characteristics that platform has, and just be like, wow, that they think like us, or oh, those two things they said that really resonates with my values. That's the work we're doing now because we feel like it's such an important inflection point in our business to help people start understanding why we're challenging the industry and why we see things differently. I think the same applies to brands and to this higher level topic of team building and being a magnet to the right candidates and to the right teammates. This layer of allowing your brand to speak to them at lengths that you may not even know exist, like that BlackRock campaign that I mentioned is so unique. Where when they first made that Venn diagram, I'm not sure that they would have thought that it would have impacted an individual all the way down to my level at NYU that was looking at a screen between BlackRock and Goldman and a bunch of other financial firms, and that was a thing that would have changed my decision in working for them and actually going and gunning for them being the top priority. And that was the impact. So I've kind of single handedly understood what it felt like to be communicated from such a far distance to the founder that was sitting on the 80th floor of some building in New York that had created this vision. And it somehow trickled all the way down to me, 21-year-old sitting in a college campus trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. That is brand. That is the core essence of brand. That is the core essence of communicating clearly what your brand stands for in a very simplistic and minimalistic way. So a long-winded way of saying I think it's really important to audit whether or not you are putting that message out there consistently and concisely and on all the right platforms where it reaches the person that you want to impact the most, whether that be a new teammate, whether that be an amazing brand that you want to work with, whether that be a consumer that you want someone to pull off your shelf, right? And say, hey, this is the brand I want to buy for my family and for myself today. So that audit of communication of key messaging, characteristics, value, and a mission and vision in a day where there's an overwhelming amount of information is more important than ever.